How many of you have ever played Pokemon? I'm sure a few of you have. It is a very popular game, and even if it is for children, people of all ages play it. But nothing can be entirely pure, entirely innocent, and if it is by some chance through some form or another, it won't stay that way for long. The story you are reading is a grim reminder of that rule, a grim reminder that nothing can be forgotten entirely, and most of all, a grim reminder that for some, it is more than just a game. Let me start from the beginning. I'd like to think myself a loyal fan of Pokemon, or at least I used to be. Even though I do not possess libraries of wisdom on the occurrences of every single game and cannot memorize every character, glitch, rumor, and item, I still like to think myself a loyal fan, and would proudly announce that I owned several games, 2 binders of trading cards, and had heard of every Pokemon in existence. I never delete a save file. Call me a sentimental old fool, for that I am, but I feel for the little pixel creatures and could never bring myself to wipe away my collection of Pokemon in more than 40 hours of playing. My love of Pokemon goes back a long way. I've collected the cards and the plushies since I was quite young, but my love of the games began when I saw a Heart Gold, Soul Silver advertisement on the television. The minute I saw that ad, I had to have the game. It just seemed so perfect, and with it came all the frills. I could only imagine and dream how great it would be to have my own collection of Pokemon, the trading cards I loved so much brought to life, and even the Pokewalker to bring them with me everywhere. When I received the game as a present for my birthday, you can safely say I was the happiest girl in the world. I rarely put the game down, and I even smuggled it into my bedroom, playing it on my DS Lite long after midnight, even though I knew my mother would have a cow if she found out what I was doing. I snuck the Pokewalker into school sometimes, despite it being against the rules, to level up my beloved Vulpix as I went from class to class. I beat the game quickly, and after challenging the Elite Four, unlocking, finding, and playing with everything the game had to offer, I decided it was time to move on from Rory, my beloved Typhlosion, and get a new game. As I said, I couldn't bear the thought of wiping the save file. So then it was off to the local GameStop again. My new game. I purchased a pre-used old Game Boy cartridge, the old Fire Red. I played the old thing as quick as the last one, and so it went on, buying more and more Pokemon games, until finally came the release of Pokemon Black and White. I bought Black. I simply had to get my hands on the legendary that came with it, the regal white dragon called Reshiram that was on the front cover. I played the game knowing what I was getting into, or so I thought. I knew it would probably be a bit cheesy with all the new Pokemon. Nothing is ever as good as the original, but it was fun for me anyway. I picked my starter without a second thought. I decided on my companion as soon as I saw the commercials. A Snivy, and I named him Vincent. I instantly loved him with all my heart. His sly expression, that slight grin of his, we were best friends and an unstoppable force together. He was my strongest Pokemon, always in my party, even if that put me at a tight disadvantage, and if he was injured or fainted, it became my top priority to heal him. I made sure to give him the most powerful moves, a grass-boosting Miracle Seed to hold, and he was the only Pokemon I ever used in the musicals. My little Vincent grew up fast, and soon was a superior, and not only that, but a reliable powerhouse to help me beat the game as quick as the rest. And so I promised him, and I promised myself, that I would always strive to keep him stronger and better, and that I would take care of him. After beating the initial storyline, as always, I explored the rest of the game, trying to catch the previous generation Pokemon that had been added in. I quickly decided it wasn't going fast enough, and that I wanted more. That I wanted the shinies and rare items and money and secret event Pokemon. I wanted it all. I became impatient and greedy, and I did something that I shouldn't have. I cheated. Borrowing my brother's Action Replay and looking up codes on the internet like a madman, I plugged so many cheat codes into that game I can't even remember. I used a code for infinite money, every item, 100% catch rates. I made all wild Pokemon shiny, and so many more. And the very best one? A cheat code that allowed you to catch any Pokemon at any level you wanted, anytime, anywhere. I'm not lying. And the saddest part of this was that with all this power, all these amazing Pokemon, I rarely used Vincent anymore. Eventually I stopped at a city and left him in one of the PC boxes. Partially because I didn't want to accidentally affect him with a cheat, but partially because I want to experiment with the hacked Pokemon. But soon things started to go wrong. The cheats started to screw up my game. It started to freeze at weird times, sprites started to glitch, and so on. And on top of it all, the game had become too easy. So, with quite a bit of regret, I stopped playing Pokemon Black, because I just couldn't find it in me to delete my file and lose all of my work. However, I still wasn't done with this new generation. You see, while Snivy was my favorite starter, Oshawott was a very close second. And while Reshiram was quite magnificent, I wanted to see what a Zekrom could do. So, exactly 2 months after abandoning Black, it was down to the GameStop once again, this time for Pokemon White. Being short on money from purchasing new generation Pokemon cards, I opted for another pre-used game. I read a lot of Pokemon creepypastas, but I never thought that they had anything to them. I mean, it makes for a nice story, but who the hell would really be messed up enough to hack a children's game with some gory, traumatizing glitch? And what producer would make a horrific Easter egg or terrifying sprite just for sick kicks? And how on earth would a Pokemon become offended or feel abandoned and try to haunt you? I really wish the world really worked that way. I was so naive. As soon as I got home, I started my new game. I named my brand new Oshawott Tsunami. It seemed a fitting name, meaning tidal wave in Japanese. I ran through the rest of the introduction, not paying very close attention. I'd seen it all before. I just worked my way through the intro and was about to step finally into the tall grass and start battling and capturing and working my way to the Elite Four once again when my DS ran out of power. I'd been so focused on my game that I hadn't noticed the low power light. Frustrated but thankful that I had saved only a minute or two before the shutdown, I decided to look for my elusive charger after dinner. I could play in bed tonight. My bed is right next to an outlet after all and will provide me with some interrupted game time. So after an uneventful dinner, I quickly crawled into bed, and as soon as the light in my mother's room shut off, I switched on my DS. However, I noticed something very strange. I did not start off from the point where I had last saved. I didn't start anywhere near it. I was in an empty black city. There wasn't even a Poké Center. Confused, I turned off my DS and removed the game chip. It was indeed Pokemon White. This is incredibly odd. Black City isn't even supposed to show up in Pokemon White, much less the beginning of the game. Clicking the chip back in, I restarted it, hoping the game would be back to normal. No such luck. I was still in an empty black city. My first impulse was to check my party. It still consisted of just my new Oshawott, but something had changed about him. His sprite looked different. It looked worried and scared. I exited my team menu and returned to the normal game screen. I felt so weird, and nothing but the sound of an eerie wind blowing, the normal soundtrack for Black City, could be heard in my earbuds. I decided that I'd had enough of this creepy place, and I just wanted to get out of there. I steered my character, who was moving slower than normal, over to one of Black City's exits. I walked into it, trying to go through, but to my shock there was a flash and slash-like streak, like when the one you see when a Pokemon uses a blade-related move, and my character was thrown back a few paces. A green text box appeared, and in dark red writing that was thinner than the writing of normal gameplay appeared.